Welcome back. And so we were thinking about first what steps you need to take and in what order. So who are the people that are involved here? Well, there's a banker, there's two real estate agents, there might be a lawyer, there's certainly a buyer and a seller. And when we think about what are the incentives at play, we want to think about who's making money here. And the answer is everyone but the buyer. The buyer gets a house out of it, but everyone else has incentive to make as much money as they can. So what are the steps you need to take to buy a house? Well, one possible answer is to go to the bank to see how much money they'll lend you. Once you know that, you can figure out what sort of house you can afford, and from there, you can look for houses, you can find a realtor. You have to do the math whether this house that you can afford is worth you living in, conditional on the fact that you're paying the realtor, you're paying this mortgage, you have to pay to move, you might have to pay for new furniture. And then finally, you have to decide whether or not to buy this house. And now what we're going to do is see what each of these steps looks like in turn. So when we say go to the bank, we don't mean like cashing a check. We mean a mortgage banker. And they'll want to know lots of information on you. They'll want to know what your current debt is. They'll want a credit report on you. They'll want to know your assets, your income, how much home buying experience you have. If you're selling this house in order to buy another house, they want to know your employment history. They also will discuss the down payment with you, which is usually a 10% down payment, but there are certain benefits for paying more than that. Here in the slide, we've got a mortgage calculator up there. I'll also drop it in the lecture notes below. Once the mortgage broker has all this information on you, it's time to figure out if you qualify for the loan. It's time to figure out what you can afford. And this is based on not just the information they gave you, but the housing expense ratio, which is the sum of monthly mortgage payment, including the mortgage, the insurance, property taxes, hazard insurance, divided by your monthly income. So a common maximum housing expense ratio is 28%. We also have the total expense ratio, but including your existing debt. Here, 36% is commonly the maximum total expense ratio. And to qualify for this loan, you need to stay under both limits, which is going to determine the maximum amount of mortgage you can take out. So when we are calculating our personal finance, our budget, it's useful to think about how changing numbers around is going to change what we can afford. Again, this is an exercise in interrogating our assumptions and in realism. This is not saying I'm going to buy $1 million mansion for free. It's saying, what happens if taxes go up? Can I still afford my house? What happens if I'm late on a student loan payment? Can I still afford my house? Keeping in mind that we don't want to put all our savings into the down payment. We're going to have lots more payments when we move in, including repairs and trash cans and appliances and painting and the closing costs, and we want money in case something goes wrong. But a useful exercise and a useful problem to consider is, suppose in a trivial example, if we make $60,000 a year and have no debt, with a prevailing interest rate of 5%, and we have $30,000 saved for house payments. What can we afford there? That question, let's on our own finish this lecture by looking for houses, considering the price per square footage, the location, what comparable neighborhood houses are, and whether these houses have any red flags. And certainly when you guys look for houses for real, hiring a realtor might help lower your search cost. But in the meantime, we have internet resources like Zillow and Redfin that'll help you decide how much you're willing to spend on a house, both in general, but also if you decide to purchase one in your upcoming final project. So with that, let's close this lecture. Good luck looking for these things on your own, and I look forward to talking to you in the next lecture video.